Okay, let's get started. Go ahead, Jen.
All right, so website analytics, if you think about it, the basics of it is that it's collecting data as to who is visiting your site and what they're doing on your site. So it's this focus to measure things within your organization as far as goals and what you want people to do on your site and determine if that is a success or a failure of those goals and driving ultimately business. And the other thing, you want to make sure that in this data collection and this measurement, you're actually using it to improve your website. So if you have pages that people aren't visiting, or maybe they are dropping off early, those are things to look at to make sure that your marketing message and things that you want people to do on your website or to know about you are actually keeping people around, sticking them on the website, and having them continue to crawl through it and visit it. So, looking at website analytics is extremely important, and all of this information can be gathered. So website analytics comes in two kind of variations, in the sense that there is a pixel-based tracking where you're actually putting a small bit of code. It's actually a very small image, 1 by 1 pixel, hence the name pixel-based tracking, that is fired to the server, which then sends the data to indicate what the visitor is doing, what page they visited, perhaps what page they came from, what page they're going to, if they came from social, if they came from opening an email, and so much more. So Google Analytics works in the way that it's including this kind of script, technical word, JavaScript, don't need to worry about it, but you're going to take that pixel and you're going to put it in every page of your website in order for this to then send the information back to the Google servers, interpret that data, and put it into the Google Analytics account, into reports and information that you can actually use. All right, so we're going to go through different website tracking codes. First, we're going to go through Google Analytics tracking code, which overall is it's going to give you probably the most data in regards to visitors and what they're doing on your site. You can also use the Facebook and Instagram pixels. That will also give you analytics, but can also be tied to conversions and things like that to give you more information on how people are using your site that are coming from those social platforms. And the same thing with LinkedIn tracking code. All right, so for Google Analytics, what you do is you go to Google Analytics, you create an account. Once you've created an account, you create what's called a property. And once you do that, by entering in some simple information, your domain name, the name of your company, for instance, it will ask you to assign a category as well. You will get two things. One, you will get your tracking ID, which always starts with UA dash. That information, depending on the platform you're using, that tracking ID can be entered into the back end, and templates are already set up, and it'll start tracking. If you need to manually put the tracking code on, you will also get that. And we've highlighted that in the screenshot here, where under property, under tracking code, you get both the UA number as well as the Google code, the whole code to put on every page of the website if you do have to do it manually. Okay, so a lot of people ask us, but there's Google Tag Manager. Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics are actually separate tools. Google Tag Manager is used where you can put in tracking codes, including Google Analytics, Facebook, Instagram tracking codes, LinkedIn. All of these are put into basically the cloud, so that if you have to make a lot of changes to your website and it's a difficult deployment of your website, this may be something that you can look at. It also, because you don't actually have to make changes to your website, you're just making changes within Google Tag Manager, deploying it, and your website will pick it up. This is probably could be a little bit of overkill for somebody that's just using Google Analytics and maybe Facebook or Instagram. Usually systems today can usually handle those. But if you're using affiliate marketing, if you're using any other pixels, Google Ads conversion, Bing conversion, Yahoo conversions, depending on the type of advertising and marketing that you're doing, Google Tag Manager may help you, because ultimately you don't have to continuously make changes to your site and deploy it many times over, which in some cases can bring your site down for anywhere from 5 minutes to a couple hours, depending on the how the site is made and all the information on it. The one thing that I always tell people is Google Tag Manager is a great tool. However, it is free. It does not come with support. So if you have a lot of tags, you might need to get a developer involved, or you might have to go with another tag management system if you're going to need a lot of support. If you feel you can handle it, Google Tag Manager is an excellent choice. But again, for this purpose, we're only talking Google Analytics. If you have an easy way to put on the code and don't have a lot of different pixels to put on. All right. So again, Google Tag Manager is a free tag management system. Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Did you want to do this one?
No, it's fine. I can do this. So Google Webmaster Tools, you might have heard that name before. It's actually called Google Search Console. It has been called that for a while, but I think a lot of people still refer to it as Google Webmaster Tools. And they've actually just changed the interface just recently as well. So anybody that's signing up for it now will get the new version of the interface versus the older version. But this is kind of an essential part, particularly on the SEO side. It lets you kind of distinguish your pages and even update if your site has been tainted with malware or not. It will tell you if it has detected that, for instance. It'll also tell you information in regards to organic search keywords, possibly where you rank on things as well. And you can always tie your Google Search Console to your Google Analytics so that you can actually see that information within your Google Analytics as well. All right, so the difference between Google Analytics and Google Webmasters are here. We're in Analytics, it's about the visitors to your site, versus in Webmaster Tool, it's how the search engines see your sites. In Analytics, it's how many visits to the site. Webmaster Tools is how many pages are being crawled. If you have 1,000 pages, are they all being crawled by the engine and being seen? In Analytics, it's how people are finding the site, and in Webmaster Tools, it's what searches are landing people to the site. It will actually give you the keywords that they're using. In Analytics, it's what content is popular, and in Webmaster Tools, are there any broken links or other errors within your content and your content links? And then finally, in Analytics, it's what are people doing on your site, and within Webmaster Tools, it would be, is this site configured correctly for search engines in order to rank it correctly? Okay.
I can address, yeah, go ahead.
So depending on the platform that you have, there's different ways that you can add the Google Analytics tracking code. So if you just have a plain old HTML website, it's been coded through a Dreamweaver or something like that, you're going to add this code to your head tag. Again, if this doesn't sound familiar to you, a developer will certainly, your developer or another developer can help you with this. If you're using a system, a content management platform, something like WordPress, we suggest a plugin called Monster Insights. And then you add that plugin and you're simply going to paste the information in the site. It will take care of everything for you. The nice thing about that also is that you can go into your WordPress site and it will pull in some Google Analytics information into the back end of WordPress. So you don't actually have to go from WordPress to Google Analytics. Certainly Google Analytics will give you more data. Monster Insights pulls in most, but there are some other things that you can still look at within Google Analytics. And then the same thing, depending on, GoDaddy Site Builder, you're going to edit in the site settings. For Wix, it's in the marketing integrations. In Squarespace, it's the external API keys. And for Shopify, you'll find this information in the online store and then preferences. So each way has a little bit different on how to do it, but usually there is a connector for most of these major content management systems to easily, if it's not just a quick copy and paste of the UA number, something very simple to that.
So now we're going to move on to the Facebook Pixel and how you can use it. You can use it as a tracking conversion. You can use Facebook for retargeting. You can create lookalike audiences, or you can optimize your Facebook ads for conversions. So once you've created and installed that pixel, you can get different information and use it differently. Just like Google Analytics, you had all this information you can get. Facebook uses that pixel across its platform for different pieces. So in order to create a pixel, you have to be on Facebook Business Manager, and that's where you create your pixel, you run your ads, you manage your assets, you do all of these things. Or if it's an agency, you can have them go in there and help you with that. But you have to access your Facebook pixel through your Business Manager account or create one. So here it says Ads Manager, and here's where you create your pixels. You can be an admin on someone's account and do this for them, or you can create the account through their sign-in and create it. So if you look at your Facebook page, right here there's a little down arrow, and what you want to do is go to Business Manager for that page. And that's how and if you say go to Business Manager, at that point it's going to ask you to create so that you can move forward to do that. So I didn't go into once you get to Manager and all the different things you could do, because that's another piece of the puzzle. But it's very easy to do. All you have to do is set up Business Manager in this down arrow and create your Facebook pixel, and then add it to your site. And just like before when Jen was talking about the different sites, they all have the ability to do it. HTML is putting it in the head tag. WordPress, you add it to the PHP header file. I didn't tab this right. GoDaddy, it's in the Facebook pixel, website editor Facebook pixel. In Wix, it's in the marketing integrations. In Squarespace, it's in the code injection. And in Shopify, it's the same place in preferences. But once you get that pixel, it's very important to put it on your site so it can start gathering that information for you to get the information from that pixel and use it to move forward. Because once Facebook starts recording who's to your site, you can retarget people who have been to your site on Facebook. And LinkedIn is very much the same way. It's a snippet of code that goes on your website so you can optimize your campaigns and retarget your website visitors. So people who have been to your site, the platform knows that they've been there, and you can automatically remarket to them. You've all seen it. You've all gone out and looked at something on Amazon.com, and the next thing you know, that same thing is popping into your feed over and over again to remind you that perhaps you wanted to buy that. It's not smart enough to know that when you looked at it, you bought it and you already own it. It's still going to feed it out to you, annoying as it is. So on your LinkedIn page, it's not a down arrow. It's a big button that says advertise. They're not as backdoor as Facebook. They want you to know we want you to advertise. So you've got to click that advertising button, and it takes you to your accounts page, which is here on the top, and then you create an account. I have an account here. You have multiple accounts in here. And then once you click on this to go to your account, you go to account assets and you can create an insight tag. And that's the snippet of code that you are going to then put on your site to gather information. Again, it's back to the same thing. We're adding it to the globe, but here instead of the header, LinkedIn likes to go into the footer. GoDaddy is still marketing integrations, and each one has their spot. They know where it goes. You can put it in so you can start tracking that information. So do you have any summation, Jen, that you want to put out there for Google Analytics?
I mean, definitely, it's a free tool. It does a lot, but I mean, there's no reason why somebody should not have it on their website, even if it's even if you don't look at it for a year, there might come a time when somebody asks you, how many visitors are you getting to your site, for whatever reason, advertising purposes and things like that. You'll actually have the information. You won't be trying to figure it out or putting code on your website. So it's one of those things where as soon as your site is launched, you should have it on there. So there's no reason not to have it.
Right. So that's one of the things we run into when we do something for a new client. We go and look at what their analytics was on their old site. And if there's nothing, that's a big frustration for us because now we have no history and nothing to do. So when we design a website and launch a website, one of the very first things after it's up is to go in, because you have to wait till it's live to do this, to put in the Google Analytics number and then do the SEO so that that data can start to be gathered. Even if you don't do Facebook or LinkedIn and put that information on there because you're not that far, Google Analytics is the biggest thing you need to do. You need to put it on and have it there. So like Jen said, you can go back and look at your history. You can find out how people are searching for you, what keywords are working for you, what pages are the most popular, where are you getting your traction. It's very important to have that information and not to have your site out there in a vacuum. Okay, that's what we have today. We really appreciate you coming, and we'll see you next Friday for, I think we're going to do next Friday is understanding your analytics. So then we're going to look at the back end and see what information comes in after you put it on so you can start making decisions.